Chairman and General, good to see you again. I want to thank you for taking on this important assignment, and I want to thank your family as well. Know that these kind of assignments, it's not just one person serving, it's everybody, so I appreciate that, your family members here. I want to follow on this line of questioning about allies and Korea and Japan. I think you are incredibly well positioned to help with that trilateral relationship, which we all recognize is so important. Senator Hirono was talking about it. Could you talk more specifically on that, U.S., Korea, Japan, what you could be doing, helping that from a military training perspective, what we should be doing? And then if you wouldn't mind, given your previous, the billet you're in right now and then where you're going to be going, just the broader importance of allies, as Senator King was talking about. You know, there's this kind of strain kind of going through the political discussion nationally. It's in the Congress. It's certainly in the presidential campaign on both sides, really, Republicans and Democrats campaigning, where they seem to be dismissive of the need for allies. President's interview in the Atlantic Monthly, I thought, was kind of unprecedented, that he would be dismissive of numerous allies of ours, given that he's still the president. He's not writing his memoirs yet. And, you know, on the Republican side, there's some presidential candidates who are equally dismissive. Can you give us your sense of how important allies are for the security of the United States and the region? I think some people need a little education on that issue.
Sir, Senator, thanks for the question. I would begin on the question related to the trilateral relationship and what we might be able to do. Because the relationship is recognized as being important by Japan, by the United States, and by Korea, I think we have a good momentum that's already undertaken. It's underway. What we can do militarily is look for more opportunities for an engagement. Some of that would be at the highest levels, the most senior military leaders, like their political leaders, just having conversations whenever possible, in a trilateral event. And I've been part of some of those already, and if confirmed, would want to continue that, to try to be part of any trilateral discussions. There are real readiness concerns that help to inform this as well. For example, the United Nations Command has a United Nations Command rear area that's in Japan. The mission in Korea cannot be fulfilled without cooperation from Japan. So we have practical military reasons to have cooperation, and if confirmed, I would highlight those as a need. If I can comment on the broader question of the need for partners in the region, it's been my experience in my military judgment that is a fundamental part of our U.S. engagements internationally.
And that keeps us safe as well as our allies and helps with prosperity in the region. It's not some kind of you know, zero-sum gain where allies and it only benefits one party. Isn't that correct?
I agree, Senator. I would say that our history shows what happens when retrenchment occurs. And we can look at the 1930s and see the consequences that followed the 1940s of what happens if we retrench ourselves back, focused only on ourselves and not on the rest of the world. And certainly we've moved a long way since the 40s in terms of the role of the United States in leadership. So leadership has to be fulfilled through relationship. And the relationships are what these engagements are all about. And so I strongly advocate for continued engagement and the resourcing to do it. It shouldn't be seen as something that's not of value for us. It's significantly valuable. That's where our partners come from in a coalition if we transition to crisis. That's how we keep 16 United Nations sending states and maybe move it to 20 if we had a crisis. It's through those relationships, and I strongly advocate those.
Let me just end by, again, a specific question, then a general one. You know, we're talking about the ability to fight tonight. Are there capability gaps and training challenges that you're seeing right now with regard to Korea, but also with regard to the issue of the size of the Army? You know, the administration is pushing for an Army of 450,000 active duty forces. General Milley, to his credit, came in front of this committee 2 weeks ago, said that put us at high military risk. That didn't make a lot of news. I thought it should make a lot of news. High military risk at 450. I want your view on how that could possibly impact your mission to fight tonight. And then if you wouldn't mind commenting very briefly, as General Milley's been looking at readjusting our force posture, he did make the decision to reverse an earlier decision by the Army to get rid of the 425 at J-Bear, the only airborne brigade combat team in the Asia Pacific. When he made that announcement, he said how well they're trained, how critical they are to a contingency in Korea. Do you support that decision by General Milley, and can you explain why, if you do? I know I asked you about 5 questions in there. Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Senator. First, if I can comment on the very important capability that exists in an airborne force in Alaska in close range to any of our interests or concerns. That is very important to us. It is located at a power projection platform, and I strongly support the decision that was made by General Milley to defer any further reductions on that unit until later in 2017. We're not out of the woods on that. The resourcing and the pressures on the size of the force are driving that. I think that there's a clear recognition that we need those capabilities, but will we be sized enough and resourced for the size that we're given? And that's what I'd ask for the committee to really help us focus on. And I think General Milley made that point very, very well. I do remain concerned about the consequences of a smaller set of forces, whether it's U.S. Army or the other services who also are part of the U.S. Forces Korea, and what that would mean in terms of how much flexibility we have to respond to the unforeseen in a time of crisis. What's behind the tip of the spear in this case? If it is a force that is under-resourced and therefore in a lower state of readiness, then the risk is elevated. We're given a choice at that point in time. Respond rapidly with under-trained, under-equipped forces, or take the time to train and equip them and perhaps lose a significant amount of momentum or have a catastrophe at the start of an operation. This is the trade-off that's happening. I don't think we're sized correctly for the missions we're seeing in the world. The world has changed since some of the assumptions were made a few years ago about force sizing, and with the committee's support, I look forward to informing that on what we need in Korea.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Blumenthal.